Howdy folks, welcome to the Scannell Agenda. Today's show, Sanitation Systems, Part 7. This is Friday, October 16th, and this is show number 38, and it's 2015. Hallelujah. We're really rocking here. Now I left off with a nice flywheel AC. So let's just say we have algae, and we also need to freeze some water for various systems and cooling purposes. So we would freeze up algae and fertilizer, and it would have a rich concentration of oxygen. So this would be like a super frozen algae fluted cylinder, like with a shaft running through, or a hole running through in this case. So so this might have a use. It might be a niche use where you would want to use algae in the summer. It was basically in frozen form that you had produced in the winter. So because you're using heat pumps and every other form of electrical generation, heat pumps for cooling and heating. So apartment biotank coffee table, here's one. Sunnyside algae growth. So you'd have a roof system, and then you'd have a coffee table, and in the coffee table would be algae. You might not be able to look at it. You may be looking at it. It may be glass. It may not even be visible. Pole and bags algae. More ways to present algae to the sun is what that is. Algae mountain, compressed air from the wind. Algae production, of course, is big with me, as you can see. This is an algae stick. It's got solar and reflectors, and it's free floating in a pond. Solar, here's another one. Solar compost methane for switchgrass furnace detail. So that's complicated. It's about producing heat with switchgrass and methane. That looks like a decentralized, smaller system that people can generate their own switchgrass and methane, and then they can use it for heat. If you can get something like that to work, and work without too much pollution, and that's the ticket. Solar and switchgrass furnace, more of that. Algae oil, CO2. Use CO2 in growth, burn fuel. Okay, this is about using tonnages of the CO2. Let's say we have coal smoke sequestration, or CO2, and we're using that, you see, if you use the tripe system, there's so many uses of all the different conduits. You can be using coal or switchgrass or wood and burning that, and then you can be sending the smoke away to be used used in the production of algae and the production of bamboo, essentially, that kind of thing. So you're tapping into your industrial base for the pollution, and you're using the pollution. Oh, this is something here. All right. It's about, okay, soy. Some of this stuff is kind of, some of this stuff with me. I put a stupid title on it, and then I don't want to present it because it's stupid. It's got a stupid title. But that's about a mat of grass, urine, sawdust, compost, and leaves. It's about manufacturing a mat to be used. Here's one called Soy Foam Spray Over Poop. Pneumatically. So that's an in-home sewage system. It's about using steel canisters. Roof willow. See this here, I like to design buildings for a hobby, of course. My dad was I called him an architect. So this is a roof willow building. And this is a flared out section on top that grows willow. And then, of course, you got a lot of sun. And then you got a building down here. And that's that. What's this? A glass tube algae pond windbreak. Okay, localized compost tea manufacturing. 1 per 3 acre area. Switchgrass carbon sequestration. That is using the smoke from your switchgrass. Might be better than coal smoke, because coal smoke has a lot of mercury in it. So we may be able to use the coal, etc. But we got to be much more careful about acid rain and all the pollution that comes out in coal, which I love coal, but it's just got to be handled properly. And then you got to have the process for burning the coal such that you can use and make a value out of the smoke and all that polluted smoke. Floating plastic ball mulch for bamboo moat. That's not something of mine, but that is, of course, when if you have, you want to cut down on your evaporation. Hold water loss down, bamboo roots to the reef. So that could be kind of a plastic ball mulching system for hydroponics. Custom urine grapey bioproduct. This is sewage department here. Storage of 1 individual's urine in a cistern on property. Tripe plumbed with pumps and switches and monitors. And the tripe lines take certain products and can switch between on the same lines, as I was mentioning, with little fear of contamination. And so you want to keep your value high and use the bioproducts. So salt is one of those things that if an individual uses a lot of salt in their food, their urine is worth less. It's not worthless, but it is worth less. And as I mentioned in this book called Liquid Gold, in Japan, hundreds of years ago, I'm not sure when, but a long time ago, they would go into the villages and they would buy the urine and use that for fertilizer. But that catches up with you if you're using a lot of salt in your food, and then your soil can get ruined because it gets salt in the soil. You don't want that. I think civilizations have been altered because of using urine with salt in it. Of course, they wouldn't be able to figure it out. But with these closed systems, what you do is you use a reef system to take out, and you wash some roots, or you just take the whole mess out there and put it in the reef. And so it's a little bit polluted with some salt, but you're in the ocean, and it may be a little bit polluted with some estrogen or whatever is in the urine that we don't like. And there's a bunch of stuff in there that we don't like and we don't want to put into the soil. So we put it out to the reef, and that is where it's at, roots to the reef, with these biosystems. because you don't want to have a biosystem that you have to do a lot of maintenance on, because the soils will degrade using these black water, gray water, grapey, and all these urine and everything else. The soil will degrade over time pretty quickly. And separation means added value. Non-toxic with lime added, okay, is a ready fertilizer. And the lower value, closed system, root mass, and salty soil used for the reef in salt water. So these are breakthroughs, I think, if we decide to do these bio treatments. So that would be a breakthrough if you're growing bamboo. And then we get to use the roots of the bamboo as a reef for growing shrimp, you know, out in the Gulf Stream waters off of Florida, let's just say, for instance. Honorary Chair of Solid Achievement. Huh. Solid, and okay, solid and gold. Specific to the task of any related to the complex systems of our waste and water, given for outstanding effort and achievements. You see, I'm leaving no stone unturned here. Honorary chair. I saw a nice chair at the Goodwill. It would have been perfect to convert to a potty chair. It's a very nice oak chair. And down about 2 inches from the floor, it had some nice cross pieces and an area there to hold a container. And I could have taken a jigsaw right then and there and cut out that the top of it and converted that to a potty chair. So that would be a nice honorary potty chair that we can use for recognition of some of our planners. And if you don't think that's important, you're not thinking straight. Because we got to have some fun with this stuff. This is boring, boring stuff. Nobody wants to get into this and do it and think about it. I guess because it's boring. It's not boring to me. So the people that do get into it would be recognized, and we could have a roast, toast, and boast and have some fun. And all these biotreatment systems have to be prototyped up. That's a lot of work, a lot of thinking. Here we go. Wood, chip, and sewage racks. This is a rack system. You get 4 inches of soil, sewage and sludge 2 inches, and then you got wood chips, 4 inches of that, and it's 60 feet wide, or 5 by 20. Freeze the sludge and lay it on. You don't pump it on, you just lay it on frozen. You get your wood chips, and these are either inoculated or not, and then sewage, sludge, and then soil, and then you're good to go. And that will be a manufacturing line to produce this stuff, and then you put it out, and you have grow out. Now, there's all kinds of details with that, such as, well, what if it pours rain and you get all the rain in there, and then, you know, you get all this sewage draining out everywhere. So you got to protect from a deluge or a downpour. You can either do that with shades that are water catches, or you can do that with just capturing any runoff. And you got to look at the cost benefit of doing it various different ways. But you don't want to have closed systems that have accidents, right? That's the point. Roof nursery for urine uptake. And this is one of my things, is to use the roof. So you got a clear cover on a roof. This is probably a retrofit, could be done new. And then you remove it all in the first week in December, and then you start in the spring. Here is stick and oil bundle, closed system, grow out sewage, harvest bushes and materials and sticks, and you compress and you bundle all this stuff up, and you add oil and switchgrass, and it's a fuel, basically. If we're going to be growing out and using a lot of bio methods to grow out all these materials, you know, you can add oil, you can add coal. Of course, you got to know that you are going to be, hopefully, using the smoke for good purposes and capturing that and filtering that, etc. 5 minute, no. No, I can't talk about some things. I must be immature. Bioproduct economic theory. In order to purchase, there must be a value, therefore negatives are converted to positives. Penalties for non-players, homogenize, standardize, and so equalize the process opportunity to tax and subsidy. So it's a market quota system type thing with sewage. So we're purchasing of switchgrass and willow and timber and bamboo requires closed systems. And this business of disposal and poisoning of the sewage has to go. I've got one of those circle and a slash mark. So anything we do, let's start with modeling, of course, and then we'll start small with the economics of penalizing anyone. This would be unheard of if we did it right now. But as you get into a system and you start to reward and then penalize, just like with fisheries, then you turn the heat up with the penalties as time goes on. And you probably turn the heat down on the subsidies because then you'll have sustainability and you won't need to be subsidizing. Micro, macro finance for poor water and sewer infrastructure. Poor. This is not just for poor folks. Okay, this is for Bill Gates and the United Nations to look at this kind of thing. It's about the economics of, so you meet the numbers and make more money, and you get your water sales, and then you get your number one urine sales for agriculture and enclosed systems. I don't know, what kind of word could we use and coin something new? Agricultural biosewage. Treatment plants. Someone can think of a good word for that, because I think we need a word for that, this kind of a genre. Gray water, black water. See, when you put values on black water that are negative, then your household may want to produce more of the gray water mixed with the urine or gray pee so you don't get slammed with fines and that kind of thing. So that's the economics coming down the road at us here as we get into the research and development and are able to introduce biotreatment systems, centralized and decentralized. Then you got to have the carrot and stick. Bamboo, switchgrass, and chickens. Very nice. So this is about a chicken farm. Chickens on the grate, no ducks allowed. That's about a farm. Okay, home switchgrass crop. And there it shows a home, and it shows how we're growing switchgrass in the home. Biotreatment conversions from Title V systems. Dish planter for biotreatment. That's a design for a dish with a tank inside, and it's an insulated tank, and it's a heat sink, and it's got optional solar attached to that. So that's a small system, but how much of a system do you think you need for your household? If you do get into this stuff down the road, you'll have a salesman telling you how much of a system you need, and, and you'll be hopefully getting subsidized to buy into that biotreatment. And I don't think it's like hanging your clothes out on the line. I think this stuff to look at, since it's mostly bio-based plantings, it'll look good, and we can design it to look good, and that's important. I remember we had an upweller system at the hatchery on Nantucket, the Marine Laboratory, and it didn't look good. So I designed the same thing. It looked like a boat, and it looked like a nice boat, and it looked good, and it would be on the mooring in the channel, and it was a passive, basically a scoop that scooped up the tides running, you know, in and out of the harbor there in the channel. Tides run pretty good, and then you would have the water going into the boxes, the upweller boxes with all the little baby shellfish, you know, scallops and oysters is what we did mainly. But when things look good, you're way ahead of the game. I don't think people that have a $10 million house want to look out on some ugly raft, you know, out in the channel. But if it were an upweller that looked good, well, same thing here with the tankage and tea and mowing, you know, all this stuff has got to me, look good. Urine spray, Scannell, gray pea. Don't you know the fertilizer goodness you have in you? Honest, I have not been drinking when I write this stuff. I drink very little. But some of this stuff, something drives me to come up with a bunch of stuff. Seasonal contests 4 times a year, 1+2 puns for sustainability, TV show. Comedy, puns, that kind of thing. Okay. Compost ball reef. This is good stuff. Now let's say you're producing compost balls and you can figure out a way to add these compost balls out to a standard tire reef. You know, you get your, as I said, I've been working on these tire reefs since I've been 18. Buy and create commodity prices for, you know, 20% human waste and woods waste pressed, and then into a bio ball, if you will, for the reef. It's a special purpose thing. And it'd be something we could experiment with. Boy, if it worked, and I think it would work. Because you got to consider, years and years ago, there was a lot more things in the ocean that were alive and growing. We've desertified the ocean to a certain extent. We pretty much wiped out a lot of the kelp. I would say we wiped out about 98% of the kelp, which is where the codfish live. And we're still doing it, because that's how we are. We're dumb. But if you put these compost balls onto a reef, you're going to get a lot of growth on that reef, a lot more. Grapey additives for applications, aeration and tea. You get your lime, chicken and poultry manure, family raised bed at the farm, family use. List the grapey uses, open systems, closed systems. So the open system would be offshore aquaculture and reefs. That would be open because it's going into Mother Nature. And that may be acceptable. I'm basically 95% for using closed systems for our bioproducts. But there are exceptions. Here's one, bamboo reacher panels. When I was a kid, I was taught how to plant rhubarb so that it would reach, you know, and it would really grow and reach. So I'm assuming you can do the same thing with bamboo. So this here's an idea for the grow out of bamboo. And the bamboo will have the ability to grow tall, and you can extend and, you know, get it to grow taller. So bamboo as a construction project, construction product. So you can use black water for that stuff, I think. Grapey reservoirs for mowers. Cultivators, mowers or cultivators of some kind. Woods-based secondary waste biotreatment. Remote recharge to woods, watering. So this is forestry, windmill, sewage, solar thermal, heats water, irrigates an area, and composting. Okay. All right. What do we have here? Specialized sewer, windmill, compressed air options for aeration, saves electricity, pump out smell to a height. Oh, pumping the smell to a height. That's about using windmills that have the ability to blow out the stink. When the windmill blade, you're blowing it out of the end of a blade, and it would, you know, as the blade reaches 12 o'clock or 10 or 11 o'clock, you would be pumping out a lot of the stink from your sewage area. How do I top that? Okay. Well, we got 1 minute left here in the show. Champagne composter. Looks like a champagne glass, compost sphere with holes, and it rotates. It's got an axis, and you've got a sphere on an axis in a champagne glass. And 40-to-1 bag in rows to in glass, and it's got a reflector behind it. So I can see something like that working, but it may not be achievable to do on scale because things cost money. So that's in the sewage farm solar category. Solar sewage on a telephone pole, that's good. This stuff is good because that's right in the neighborhood. You'd have to pull your old telephone pole out and then go with this new stuff. That could be a winner. That might be a winner. Solar sewage on a telephone pole. Okay, that's the Scannell agenda. Thank you very much for watching.